Okay, so this is a little bit of a different topic. It's a very interesting topic. The person that actually asked this question about the topic is not with us this morning. She was going to be with us, and then she had to run to a funeral, unfortunately. But Laurence asked the question. She wanted to know about the Jewish zodiac. And there is such a concept with as we'll discover. But interestingly enough, there isn't much about it. She found it on YouTube from some YouTuber talking about the Jewish zodiac. He probably is making stuff up, if I could imagine, because there isn't much about it. I had to do a lot of digging to find some stuff about it. But here we have um, some sort of presentation, and we'll see what do you think about it. So I first want to make sure I shared the audio, and we'll get going. The conversation is about the Jewish zodiac. Does anyone know what I'm referring to, what I mean by that, by the raise of hands? Now I made it disappear on me. Where are you? Yes? Anyone? No, a little
No,
bit, kind
no
of,
clue.
not at all. So,
Nothing.
not at all. Okay, so there's something called constellations that we're aware of a little bit. And the constellations in Kabbalah and in Jewish mysticism has a connection to the months of the year as well as to dates or to hours. We discussed this a little bit last week, talking about the power of a birthday, a Hebrew birthday, how on your Hebrew birthday you have a mazel, you have a connection to an hour or to a certain spirit which exists, which kind of could send a certain energy into your life or enhance your life in a certain way, depending on the mazel that you were born in. I was born on a Monday, so that's not the best mazel, but that I guess it works for me. Okay, so let's get right into it. To go into what the Jewish zodiac is about, I hope to give you a little bit of a background on astrology. We are going to first get a premise on the way the Jewish sources, Torah sources, view astrology in general. There is a lot spoken about astrology, and perhaps Torah is one of the sources of astrology. One of the interesting things that Maimonides says is that Maimonides wrote 14 chapters, I believe, on astrology, and it's written in a Torah book. But he says that a lot of what he took from other sources, from Greek sources and what have you. But he writes that the original Greek philosophers actually derived a lot of their wisdom from Torah geniuses. There was a connection, there was a relationship. Jeremiah the prophet had a relationship with some of the greatest original Greek thinkers, and there was a lot of back and forth between them. They shared a lot of information, and a lot of the Greek wisdom that a lot of the astrology today came out of actually was derived from Torah originally. Now, something which is interesting in Torah that is officially not true these days is that Torah will always look at the cosmos starting from our universe being the point. Our universe, our world is the middle point, and everything is circling around our world. So the sun is circling around the world, not the world circling around the sun, or the moon is circling around the world, the earth, that is, and not the earth circling, going with the moon around the sun. As it's accepted today in science, everything circles the sun. And this becomes an issue because if you believe in science and you believe that it's fact, then you're having a hard time approaching Torah sources because it's kind of coming from a very different direction. So here I'm going to begin with a letter from the Rebbe, and the letter is printed right here. I don't know if you could read that. I'm going to ask Anita, could you read that? I think I have a
Sure. From the Rebbe's Igrot Kodesh, letter 7, page 144D. It is well known how much the greatest of Israel struggled over how to reconcile the simple meaning of the verses which describe the movement of the sun, moon, and earth with a Copernican system. For a long time, they said this was the absolute truth until the theory of relativity by Einstein came and demonstrated, understood according to our current state of knowledge, that from a scientific perspective, it is impossible to prove in any way in relation to the stars and the earth, which is stationary and which moves. Accordingly, could you bend your head down a little, Rabbi? Accordingly, it is also possible that that your head has to go down a little. That the earth, thank you, that the earth stands still and the stars revolve around it, and there is no need to remove the verses from their simple meaning or to twist them, if you're just through far-fetched reasoning. And the same applies regarding the words of our sages, which should be understood in their plain sense.
Okay,
Thank you,
so
Rabbi.
the Rebbe, thank you. The Rebbe was a very staunch believer in the Torah and the truth of the Torah, and how if we're told something in the Torah that doesn't change, and here is where he makes that point once again, saying that although science believes that the earth revolves around the sun, in truth, based on current science, based on theory of relativity, we don't have to say that you can't prove one way or another. So when it comes to talking about the orbit and talking about things like that, you could easily say that the Earth goes around the sun or the sun goes around the Earth, and practically it's the same thing. It's just about how you want to view it. And what is actually happening practically is not provable. It's simply not provable because of the theory of relativity. I am not a scientist. I cannot go ahead and give a proper explanation. Probably most of the people here also wouldn't be able to follow such an explanation. So I guess we are just going to accept that unless someone has something that they want to add to that. I added in the chat box a link to a bunch of sources that we're going to be reading. So maybe if you could open that up, I don't know if you have like another phone or something, or if you go open that up on your computer, you will have those sources, and then you'll be able to read along, and I won't have to move my head, and that should be easier to follow. Okay, so we are now going further on into this. Sorry, I'm just jumping around. I'm not used to this the first time we're doing it like this.
Okay.
Oh, no, I just messed that up. I just closed my whole thing. I'm so sorry. Let's do this again.
You might have a Zoom setting that lets you decide where your head is on the presentation.
Right, I do have that, but here I just closed my presentation by mistake.
Yeah. Do you have the option of just sharing that window?
Okay, we'll do this, just that it's missing a video. Okay. Yeah, I had to share the sound. Okay, so we're back. And we saw that letter from the Rebbe, which is going to lead us into the conversation about constellations, how the world works. Here I have a few laws from the Rambam, 3 laws from the Rambam, where he goes through describing the way the orbit works and the different spheres that exist. After we read this, I'm going to go into a video, kind of giving you a little bit of a visual of what this is supposed to look like, so you get a better understanding. But I think this is just good to know, seeing the words and also seeing it inside the original text. So let us begin. We are in text number 2 in Maimonides, in the Rambam, on the structure of the heavens, Zodiac Torah 1:1. And maybe Lisa, maybe you could read for us.
Okay, hold on 1 second. I want to see if I can.
Do you see it? Do you have the
Oh,
text
here.
open?
I think I got it. Okay, so you want the Rambam on the structure of heavens, yesterday, Torah 1:1?
Go for
Okay. The spheres are called the heavens, the firmament, Zvul, and Arvot, and there are 9 spheres. The sphere closest is the sphere of the moon. The next above it is the sphere of Mercury. The third above it is Venus. The fourth is the sun. The fifth, Mars. Sixth, Jupiter. Seventh, Saturn. Eighth contains all the other visible stars. And the ninth is the sphere that returns every day from the east to the west, encompassing and turning everything. Although all the stars appear as if in one sphere, there are levels, and because the spheres are pure and clear, like glass and sapphire, the stars of the 8th sphere appear beneath the first sphere.
Okay, so is everyone confused already, or are we good? So we're talking about an onion. Picture an onion, and we're in the middle of that onion. And you have a bunch of layers. You have 9 layers around the onion, but they're all clear. So when we look in the heavens, we just see them all as one. Some of them are smaller, some of them are bigger. But the bigger they are, that means the closer they are. So they're probably in a closer sphere. I think we'll see it in signs soon, but I believe the sun and the moon are in the 4th sphere, something like that. The 7 major planets that we know of are in the 7th sphere, I believe. The zodiac that we're going to be talking about soon is in the 8th sphere, and then the 9th sphere is actually empty. But what the 9th sphere does is it moves the whole thing from east to west.
Okay.
So it makes a circle every day. So our experience of a day of 24 hours is because of that movement from east to west. Am I making a mistake? I think I'm correct about that. While that's happening, all the other spheres have their own orbit going on, which is why you'll have the sun doing something different than the moon, and etc. But all of it, the whole sky, is moving as one from east to west, while everything else is kind of doing their own thing. Kind of picture a boat moving in one direction with the people walking in the other direction. Right? So you have everything moving in one direction, but you have small objects also going the other direction. So if you have 2 people, one walking with the boat direction, the other one walking the opposite, so you end up seeing them on very different sides of the boat at the end, although they both kind of went in the same direction altogether. If that makes sense. Let's go on to the next one. 1, 2. Elizabeth, could you read for us? Do you have it open? You don't have a mic. Your mic is not open. I don't know. I don't hear you. That's fine. Okay. Jenny, do you want to read?
Sure. Every sphere among the 8 that contains stars is divided into many spheres, one above the other, like layers of an onion. Some spheres rotate from east to west, and some rotate from west to east, and some from east to west, like the 9th sphere that returns from east to west. All are contiguous with no empty space between them.
Okay. And take it over from the next one, 3, 6, and 7.
I'm sorry, me or Neil?
You go. You go ahead.
Neil, go for it. Neil, go for it.
Okay. The ninth sphere, which encompasses everything, was divided by the early sages into 12 parts, each named according to the shape of the stars beneath it, called the constellations: Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces. These 12 constellations were only aligned with their respective parts at the time of the flood. In our times, they've shifted slightly. The stars in the eighth sphere rotate like the sun and the moon, but due to their weight, the time it takes for each star to move opposite a given constellation is approximately 70 years.
Right? So just to clarify, these translations, Aries, Tyrus, they're all translations of the Hebrew. So the Hebrew is going to be different. We'll see. Some of them are similar, but some of it is different. What he's saying over here is that what the Hebrew says, let's say one of the constellations is Moznayim, which means a scale. Those stars kind of made out the image of a scale, but it doesn't make out that image today. It only made out that image at the time of the Great Flood, but it held that name because traditionally it has that power. The reason why it doesn't look like that anymore is because those stars move very slowly as well themselves, and therefore they end up going out of shape and creating a different shape perhaps. And now they don't anymore look like a scale. By now they probably look very, very different because 70 years was a long time within a small framework, but talking about thousands of years, 70 years is not a lot. Ultimately, they're going to have moved a lot over all this time. So now that we have that clear, I want to show you a video. The video is going to bring out what it means that in a given month, there is a certain constellation for that month and how that has a power over that month. The video imagery is kind of like a helicopter view if the whole universe and the earth were flat. You'll see what I mean, but in reality, it would look more like an onion with us being in the middle and it being around. So I think after we read this, you'll get an idea of where the video is coming from. So let me share that. Right now, I'm going to end share. And then I'm going to share with you the video.
While the subject of the mazalis are quite complex,
Do you
we'll
hear the
present a
sound?
basic understanding of them, enough for us to be able to understand the sugya and dafir alphabet base, which deals with the mazalis. The mazalis are basically a large group of stars which surround our world along the equator. If we divide these stars into 12 sections, or 12 constellations, then we have one group of stars corresponding to each one of the 12 months of the year. The stars within each of these constellations create a distinct shape and image that will enable its corresponding month to be identified by. For instance, for the month of Tishrei, we can see how the stars in its constellation create roughly an image of a classic scale, the symbol of justice, and which identifies Tishrei as the month when Hashem judges the world. Within another group, we find a rough image of a fish, which of course corresponds to the month of Adar, Mazel Adar Dagim, and so on. But what does this all really mean? And how is this information useful? And the answer lies with how the sun interacts with these stars each day and over the course of the year. But before we continue, we want to point out that while scientifically the Earth spins around its axis daily, and also circles the sun over the course of the year, however, for mankind living here on Earth, we don't feel the Earth spinning or circling. But rather we experience the Earth as stationary and see the heavens as they circle the Earth. Therefore, in our share, this is how we will continue to present our model and show the sun as it circles the earth, which is also the way the Torah, as well as the Tanoim, discuss the planetary motions. from the way they are experienced by mankind standing here on earth. Each morning, as the sun rises and circles the earth, so too, the stars also rise and circle the earth. However, the stars move across the sky a bit faster than the sun. The effect of this is that while the sun rises in the morning with a particular star, by the time they both rise again on the next morning, that star will rise earlier, and the sun will rise along with another star behind it. Over the course of approximately 30 days, the sun will have fallen back about 30 degrees from the original lead star. The stars between the first leading star and the last star dictates the boundaries of that constellation, or mazel, which corresponds to that specific month. For example, let's take the month of Tishrei as it is represented by its mazel. On the first day of the month of Tishrei, the sun will appear lined up with the lead star in this constellation. And as the days go by, the sun will continue to fall behind, rising every morning with a later star, until the end of the 30 days when the sun will rise with the last star of the mazel of Tishrei. On the very next day, the sun will rise with the lead star of the next constellation, which corresponds to the next month of Cheshvan, and so on, until 365 and a quarter days later, the sun once again will rise with the lead star within the mazel of Tishrei. But there is one more aspect to the mazalas, and that is their daily rotation. As just seen, the complete group of 12 mazalas circle the earth once every day, with just a minor change of its position as it relates to the sun. Rashi in Daf Yud Alpha Beis explains that the 6 constellations, the 6 mazalas that begin the day below the horizon, and which will eventually rise during the day, are actually called oila. Because throughout that day, each of these 6 mazalas will be oila and rise above the horizon, while the 6 constellations that begin the day above the horizon are called shekeah, as they will set below the horizon during that day. On a perfect 12-hour day and 12-hour night, it will take each constellation from its first lead star until its last star 2 hours to rise above the horizon, as well as 2 hours to set below the horizon. On a daily basis, the 6 mazalas that are oila during the day are the ones that have an effect on the world, whereas the 6 that are shekeah do not have any effect. However, the mazel constellation that is identified with that month is the one that is oila along with the sun in the morning at Netzach Hama, and this effect will last for the complete month, because that is how long the sun will continue to rise each morning with stars within that constellation. The Gemara Daf Yud Aleph discusses how and when the Mabul took place. Tanya, B'shnas sheish me'ez shana l'chayi noich, b'chodesh hasheni, b'shiva asu yom l'chodesh. Pshul Eimer, Oisa hayom yudzayin be'ir haya, yom shemazal kima shekeah b'yom, u'mayonis mismatim, umetoich shashina maseyin, shina kadosh baruch hu aleim maisa b'reishis, v'hela mazal kima b'yom, v'notol shnekachav v'mekima, v'hevi mabul oilam. According to Rabbi Yeshua, the Mabul began on the 17th day on Chodesh Iyar, which means, based on what we just saw with regards to the mazalas, the first mazel to be oila that day and have its effect on the world was the mazel of Shar, the mazel of the month of Iyar. However, the Gemara tells us that the group of stars that cause great amounts of rain to fall and are part of a group of stars called Kima is not within the constellation of Shar, but rather in the constellation of Tla, in the month of Nisan, which will not be oil that month and will therefore not have any effect that month. Therefore, the Brisa tells us that Shina Kadosh Baruch Hu Alei Hamaisa V'Reishis V'Hela Mazal Kima Bayim. Hashem altered the normal state of these stars and removed them from their regular position within the Mazel of Nisan and placed them within the Mazel of Iyar, so that Kima will be oila during the month of Iyar and cause the rains that would flood the world. However, according to Rabbi Eliezer, who holds that Oisa Yom Yudzayin B'Macheshvan Haya, Yom Shemazal Kima Oila Bayoim Umayonis Miskaber. The Mabul began in Marcheshvan, and therefore Mazal Kima will naturally be Oila during that month and bring rain onto the world naturally. It was not necessary for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to be Meshana Maisa Bereshis by manipulating the Mazalis, but rather, the Gemara says that according to Rabbi Eliezer, Shina Bereischem. What Hashem was Meshana was that the rain during the Mabul would be boiling hot water.
Okay. So we are back. Does anyone have any questions? Does that make sense? Does that clarify some stuff or make things more confusing?
I have a question, Rabbi.
Yes.
So in the first day of the month, like let's say today's what, Chodesh Elul tonight. So
Yes.
tomorrow, first day of Elul. Is it when is most of the mazel is on the first day?
So is most of the miles on the first day? No. So that every single morning, every 24 hours, all 12 mazalis are going to pass every 24 hours. Over over the 12 hours, over the 12 hours of the daytime, 6 of those mazalis are going to pass. So the first one that comes up in the morning, that's the mazel of that day, and also the mazel of the month, because it's always going to be that same mazel for the whole 30 days. That makes sense?
Yes, thank you. And what is shoina? You used the word shoina? Maybe I'm not pronouncing it correctly.
Shoina? I'm not sure.
Shoin or shine, no.
I'm not sure. Yes, Anita.
I was wondering about the boiling hot water. Could you comment on that? At the
Sure.
very end, I was confused.
So
What
he
was
just
that?
expressed an interesting effect that these mazalis have, which is that when God created the great flood, he had to bring a lot of rain into this world. And that rain was also boiling hot. And in order to bring that rain, he used the mazalis, the energies that bring rain, to naturally bring a lot of rain into the world. Now, the mazal, the star that has a control over the rain, presumably is the star called Kima. That's the Hebrew name of that star. Now, there was a discussion whether that star was naturally coming up during that month, during the daytime, or was it supernatural that God actually changed nature to make that star come up, which is interesting why he would change nature to make the star come up and not change nature to just have a flood without that star coming up. Like there is some sort of connection between the mazalis, between the stars, which we know even, from astrology, and back in the day, this was very common of people looking into the stars and seeing the future and trying to figure out based on which star was stronger and which star was weaker, various powers that might be. And this is a belief in Judaism as well, that these stars have a certain power. They create a certain destiny. And they're not all empowering. In other words, our free choice could override that. And we could choose how to use those energies that come into the world. However, at the same time, we are more prone to certain things during that month based on the mazalis. That is the general thing that we are going into today. That's the general premise that we're going into, and what we're going to see in the rest of this class is the various different mazalis of every single month, and what perhaps is the energy of that month, or how it does have a connection to the Hebrew month of the year. Any other questions before we continue, just to make sure we're all on board?
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so moving right along. Just make sure I don't miss anything. Okay. So we are here in the next text. That's going to be brachos. It says nothing is random. And BA, maybe you could read that for us. This is a small snippet from the Talmud, where the Talmud tells us that none of these type of constellations are random. So you might think, how do the energy of the stars coincide with the concept of God's, connection to the world, to divine providence? And the answer is, it actually does not contradict at all. It actually itself is all about divine providence. Let's see that inside.
God said to the world, "My daughter, I created 12 constellations in the firmament. For each constellation, I created 30 shale units. For each shale, 30 legion. For each legion, 30 raton. For each raton, 30 carton. For each carton, 30 gastra. and for each Gostra 365,000 stars corresponding to the days of the sun. And I created them all only for you.
Okay, so what we see from here, I believe that they mistranslated, and I didn't catch that. It says God said to the world, but I believe that the actual meaning is God told the Jewish people. And this is a conversation to the Jewish people, and God says, I created the entire universe for you, and you don't even know what you're looking at. You don't know how much I created for you. And he goes in to talk about how each of these constellations are not a few stars, they're not a handful of stars. You're talking about myriads and myriads of divisions, and each division has subdivisions, and each of those subdivisions have thousands and thousands of stars, which all have an effect on our world, which is why Judaism views the entire universe circling the earth, because we understand that the purpose of creation is the earth, even though the earth is one of the smallest planets, but it's maybe it is the most important one. It's the one where the purpose of creation is at, and that's what everything circles physically and also metaphorically. Everything is circling this earth. Everything is focusing on this earth, leading us to the purpose of creation. So moving along to the next point. So here we have a very interesting piece of medrash. This is going to get us into it right before we go into the actual months. I just have the whole text here, but that's not going to help you. So you want to look back at that text page. Haman knew about divine providence. And this is an extremely interesting point of medrash where it talks about Haman making the lots, right? So we know that Purim, the Hebrew word of Purim, the holiday of Purim, actually means lots. And it's because Haman threw lots to decide when he wants to destroy the Jewish people. And the Medrash goes into what those lots consisted of. Haman wasn't a schmo off the block. He knew what he was doing, and he understood the powers that might be, and he was actually trying to tap into divine energy while planning this execution of the Jewish people, God forbid. So let's do it's a little bit of a lengthy read, but I think it's extremely interesting. Maybe we could go around. We'll each read a couple of paragraphs. Elizabeth, do you want to read for us, or you're still you can't read? Okay, that's fine. Sorry about that. So Anita, we're back to you. Let's go in that rotation.
Is that where it says the Jewish Zodiac?
No, so it says Haman knew about divine providence. Do you have it open, the text?
I just, oh, yes. In the first month, that is the month Nisan, it is taught, when the wicked Haman sought to eliminate Israel, he said, how can I gain control over them? I will cast lots. The Holy Spirit cried out, over my people they cast lots. The Holy One, blessed be he, said to him, wicked one, son of a wicked one, your lot is drawn to be hanged. He cast out a pure that is.
Let me interrupt you for a second, just to clarify. So that the Medrash throws in what God said while Haman was talking. So Haman says, "Let me cast lots." God said, without him hearing, you don't really have much hope, because your lot is that you're going to be hanged. But meanwhile, he went ahead and cast a pur, which is the Persian word for lot, right?
Yes.
And the lot fell upon him. So again, that's continuing that same medrash, saying that God said the lot is upon you, that you're going to be hanged. But let's continue. First, let's do the next paragraph first. Go for it.
Okay, Sunday, its angel said before the Holy One, blessed be he, master of the universe, the heavens and the earth were created on me, and you said, truly my covenant is day and night. Have I not set the statutes of heaven and earth? There is a covenant in their flesh. You shall observe my covenant, circumcise every male, and in their mouths the Torah. The book of the Torah shall not depart from your mouth. You said, if the heavens above can be measured, so too will the descendants of Israel cease from being a nation. And this wicked one seeks to annihilate them. Uproot the heavens and the earth first, then attempt it.
Okay, so we're getting a sense over here where he went through every single day of the week, and you have this paper, so you can look at this after the class. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and each of them, the angel which was connected to that day of the week turned to God and said, you cannot allow this to happen on my day of the week, because I am not prone for this. I do not give an energy of annihilating the Jewish people. On the contrary, I actually stand the Jewish people should exist, and first uproot me before you uproot the Jewish people. So, Haman was looking that week, let's see a good day to destroy them. What's a good day? And none of them really worked with him. And therefore he said, you know what, let's go on to the months and let's see if there's a month that works with me. So then at least we'll have the energy of the month, if not the energy of the day of the week. So let's move on, Lisa. If you could join me. Seeing the lot could not fall on the days, Haman moved to months.
Okay, hold on. So I'm working off of an iPhone.
Okay, so
Pat,
if we move
yeah.
to someone else, is that
yeah.
Jenny, go for it.
Sure. Seeing the lot could not fall on the days, Haman moved to the months. Nisan, the merit of Passover, protected Israel. Iyar, the merit of Pesach Sheni, and the manna provided on the 15th. Sivan, the merit of the Torah. Tammuz, the merit of the land. Haman could not succeed here or in Av due to past calamities, 5 in Tammuz and 5 in Av. Elul, the merit of completing the wall of Jerusalem, and the animal tithe. Tishrei, the merit of the shofar, Yom Kippur, and the festivals. Mar Cheshvan, the merit of Sarah, who died during it. Kislev, the merit of Hanukkah.
Like now, Hanukkah didn't happen yet.
Right, that's
extremely interesting.
Yeah.
The period of Hanukkah were protecting the Jewish people in a time of Haman, and Haman was able to see that.
Yeah.
Wow. Tevet, the merit of Ezra. Shavat, the merit of the Great Assembly. Should I keep going?
Yeah.
Go for it.
The first of Adar had no merit. Haman rejoiced and checked the Zodiac. Aries, Lamb.
Okay, so now we're going back to the Zodiac. To keep in mind, the Zodiacs that he's going to go through now, the English translation, the Lamb, what's in parentheses, that's actually the actual translation of the Hebrew. And what he's going to be going through is starting from Nisan. So it's the same order as we just saw the months now, how he landed on Adar, the 12th month being the only month that he could destroy the Jewish people. In terms of the Zodiac, he's going to have the same conclusion, how the Zodiac of every month protects the Jewish people up until Adar, and Adar, he didn't think that it protected the Jewish people. Go for it.
Wow. Aries, Lamb, merit of the Paschal Lamb. Taurus, Bull, merit of Joseph and offerings. Gemini, Twins, merit of Peretz and Zerah. Leo, Lion, merit of Daniel. Virgo, Virgin, merit of Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Libra, Scales, merit of Job. Scorpio, Scorpion, merit of Ezekiel. Sagittarius, Bow, merit of Joseph. Capricorn, Kid, merit of Jacob. Aquarius, Bucket, merit of Moses.
Okay, so each of these I think we're going to touch upon soon, going through the months and what their power is. And then finally he came to the fish, which corresponds to Adar. Right, I'm reading a little further, and he said it has no merit. Haman rejoiced, and he said Adar has no merit, and Moses died in Adar. But he did not know Moses was also born in Adar. Haman thought, just as fish swallow, I will swallow them. The Holy One, blessed be he, said, wicked one, fish sometimes swallow and sometimes are swallowed. This man will be swallowed by the swallowers. Rabbi Hanan said it was reversed so that the Jews ruled over their enemies. Rabbi Tanchuma said, your Lord had not determined to expunge Israel. Rather, he said, for I will expunge the memory of Amalek. So they were using the same energy that Haman was trying to put onto the Jewish people God reversed it and said, I will put that on you. Adar is considered the hidden month, or the celebration of Purim is actually the hidden month because God is hidden in the story, just like fish are hidden under the earth. And just like fish never close their eyes, they never sleep. We know the concept of Tashlich. That's what God's energy in Adar was, where Adar represents a time which it seems to be a slumber. It seems to be a time of exile, a time when the Jewish people were not connected to God. But God says, I never slumber, I never close my eyes. And even when we're in a time of drowsiness, a time of gullus, a time of non-connection to God, that connection never goes away, and we always remain steadfast. So that was an interesting medrash. Again, you could revisit all of this text afterwards, and if you revisit after this class, I think you'll have a greater understanding of a lot of this text. But I do want to continue on to see each month individually and what we could take out of that. So join me back here. And here I have the months in order. Starting from Nisan, give me 1 second. Okay, perfect. Okay, why did that happen again? I don't know. Okay, we're starting from Nisan. So Nisan is interesting. Nisan is, first of all, the lead month, right? Nisan is the first month, and therefore the Tle, which is in Hebrew for lamb, that is the zodiac of Nisan. That represents the idea of a leader. As far as I understand, when it comes to sheep, there's always something called the lead sheep. And that connects to this concept of the month of Nisan leading the rest of the months. Also, there's a clear connection between the lamb and the Nisan as we know it, because Nisan is Pesach, where we have the Paschal sacrifice, and the Paschal sacrifice was a lamb. Now, when I heard that, I was like, okay, very interesting. It's interesting that we brought a Paschal sacrifice in the month of Nisan. But in reality, if we read this Ramban, where I have what I have on the screen, it gives us an incredible insight in the whole idea of what was going on there. We know that the Jewish people sacrificed a lamb. For what reason? Why did God choose a lamb? Does anyone know?
The god of the Egyptians.
Very good. Because the lamb was the god of the Egyptians. Now, based on our discussion here, maybe could someone tell me why was the lamb the god of the Egyptians?
God, I don't know.
Why would they be serving a lamb? Serve a lion, serve something a little greater. I believe, based on my understanding of this discussion, that they were actually serving the zodiac of lamb. They weren't serving the physical lamb. The physical lamb had an energy of that zodiac, and therefore it was a way of serving the zodiac by serving the lamb. Because the zodiac was the zodiac of lamb. And the reason why they were serving that zodiac was because it's the first zodiac of the year. If the year starts from Nisan, right? So then that's the first zodiac. That's the strongest zodiac. That's the strongest god. So they have 12 gods to choose from. They could serve the god of scales, and they could serve the god of fish, but they chose to serve the god of the lamb because that's the first one, the strongest one. God said, in the month of the lamb, in the month where your zodiac is the strongest, I'm going to go ahead and slaughter them, showing, number one, that God is stronger than their God, and number two, that it wasn't their God that brought the Jewish people out of Egypt. He wanted to tell the Jewish people as well. The Jewish people were steeped in the Egyptian society, and they also understood that the zodiac of lamb is extremely strong, and they understood, well, if we're leaving Egypt, well, maybe it's the zodiac that's taking us out of Egypt. Maybe it's this incredible energy of the lamb that's actually creating all these plagues and taking us out. And God was also teaching the Jewish people, saying, no, I am a God, the creator of the universe, beyond, stronger than the zodiac, and therefore I'm going to deliberately tell you, slaughter the lamb, and then I will take you out of Egypt. So this gives us a whole new meaning to what Passover was all about, and what the psychology was that was the psychology that was happening there as God took us out of Egypt. Okay, moving along to the month of Iyar. So Iyar is the month of a bull, and we also read it in the Medrash. Bull represents many of the sacrifices the Jewish people brought in the Holy Temple. The bull also represents hard work. You know, you put a yoke on the bull. During the month of Iyar is where we started our service of God. Until Iyar, in Nisan, God took us out. It was kind of like a free ride. And here in the month of Iyar, God says, now you got to start doing your own work. We know that Iyar is the month of Sfira to Omer, where we count the Omer. And the idea of Sfira to Omer is about, you know, bettering ourselves, becoming better people, refining our own emotions. 49 days or 7 times 7 connected to 7 emotions. And that's the idea of a bull, all about doing the work and actually making ourselves better people. Then there is Te'umim. So Sivan is the zodiac of twins. Interestingly enough, Sivan was also the month that God gave us the Torah. There's a number of connections to twins in the Torah. Can anyone help me out? Can anyone guess? What would be the connection between twins and the Torah?
The tablet.
Okay, very good. So we have the 2 tablets for 1. Anything else?
Twins? Esav and Yaakov.
Okay, but here we're talking about the giving of the Torah. So I don't know. I'm not sure how that would connect.
Okay.
So one connection that is mentioned besides the 2 tablets is the concept of the unity of God and the Jewish people. That's like a twin. Another connection is that it's one of the only zodiacs, if not the only one, which is of a humankind. Most of the zodiacs are animals. Actually, the word zodiac, I believe, means animals. So most of the zodiacs are animals or objects. This is the only one that's actually of a human. And the idea of Torah is Torah was given to the human people. And the human race are the ones that are going to elevate the world through the Torah. And that is also another connection of the month of Sivan to the zodiac of twins. An additional connection is we know that Nisan is the first month, Iyar is the second month, Sivan is the third month. In Kabbalah, 3 represents true unity. 1 means there's nothing else, 2 means that there's separation, and 3 means that the 2 are becoming 1. Right? So 3 represents true unity. In Nisan, God revealed himself. In Iyar, we said, we'll do our part. In Sivan, God said, I'm going to bond myself with you. That's the idea of a marriage, 2 people becoming 1. That is the true unity of 3, and that is connected to the idea of twins. Twins represent 2 that are really 1. Okay, does that make sense? So twins, do we have 1 pair of twins or 2? How many do we have if we have twins? And the answer is we have 2 that are 1. That is the message of Sivan being 3, 2 becoming 1. So that's another interesting point. Moving along to Tammuz. So Tammuz is actually a crab. And the idea is that crabs move sideways. And we know Tammuz was a time where it was challenging for the Jewish people. It wasn't necessarily a happy time. But the message is that even when we're down, even when it seems to be something which is unhealthy, really we're just making a bend. We're coming around to the good times, something which is necessary to come to a better time. Similarly, we have Av. The month of Av is a lion or Leo in English. And the idea of a lion, it says that God sent the lion to destroy the lion to be rebuilt by the lion. Does anyone know what I'm referring to?
Destruction of the temple.
Very good. So the temple looked like a lion. It was the shape of a lion because it was wider in the front and narrower in the back. We had a class about that. So you had that shape of a lion. God is a lion, and the Romans, the zodiac of the Romans, were considered a lion. And the Romans were able to destroy the temple because of that zodiac. And God said, I, who am the greatest lion, the king of all kings, I'm going to rebuild that temple. Now, in truth, the message is that the one that destroyed it is the same one that's building it. God was telling us it wasn't the Romans that destroyed your temple. No one has power over my temple other than me. And the fact that it was destroyed is because I made a decision. I wanted it to be destroyed for whatever reason, because I'm going to create it bigger and better. So that's the message of Av, although it's a sad month, but it's also the message where God is really behind everything. And the fact that we experience destruction, we experience strength, it's really strength that's going to lead us to a greater good. So that is the month of Av, being the zodiac of a lion, which is extremely interesting. Elul, we have the zodiac of a virgin, or Virgo, Betula, and that zodiac is about renewal. It's about freshness. Elul is a time where my father spoke about this yesterday in the shul, about in Port Washington, about the king is in the field, and it's a time of freshness. We're getting into a new year. It's a restart, and it's about taking accounting of the last year. So that is the month of Elul. And finally, we have the month of Tishrei. Everyone knows the month of the high holidays, as well as the month of Sukkot, and that is scales. And I think everyone can understand why the zodiac of Tishrei is the month of scales. It is clearly a month of judgment and balance. Then we have Mar Cheshvan, which is Scorpion. This is interesting. Again, a lot of the things that I'm telling you today, I had to kind of fish out bits and pieces, because there isn't really an ancient book that goes through this at length, which is why I have very little on each one of them. But this is my little that I was able to gather together. So we have the Scorpion during the month of Mar Cheshvan, and my understanding is that the Scorpion is very chilling, and the connection of the Scorpion to Cheshvan is because Mar Cheshvan actually means bitter, and the connection of Cheshvan is because Cheshvan is coming after Elul, which Tishrei was such a spiritual high, and suddenly we're kind of back to regular life, and we don't got a holiday till Kislev, till Hanukkah. So it's a very cold month. It seems to be a very chilling month, very dark. The nights are getting longer, and we're like, this is not feeling, rejuvenated. But that's kind of life, That's kind of when we kind of have to look life in the face and say, not every day is a high, not every day is spiritually enlightening. And the idea of a spiritual high is actually to give us that energy and give us that spiritual boost for the Cheshvan, for the time of the Scorpion, for when it's going to be cold and dark and gloomy and lonely. So that is the month of Cheshvan, and then we have the month of Kislev, which is my favorite one over here, which is actually a bow. And the reason why it's a bow is for a number of reasons. First of all, we know that Kislev is about the Jewish people fighting the Greek army. In addition, the concept of a bow is fighting darkness, and the whole idea of Kislev, starting from the holiday of Hanukkah, as well as all the Hasidic holidays, the 19th of Kislev, when the Alter Rebbe left prison, which is considered the start of Hasidic philosophy. All of that is connected to the concept of coming onto the darkness head on and saying, we are going to elevate this, we are going to turn this over, we are going to fight this and change and bring light to the darkness. I believe this is also connected to the concept of keshet. So this is an interesting thing. So the word keshet means bow. It also means like a rainbow. A rainbow also is the concept of finding beauty in darkness and clouds. In a cloudy time, we could find the beauty in there. That's the concept of a rainbow as well. The word keshet stands for 3 words. So the keshet is kuf, shin, and taf. And that word will stand for Kiddush Levana, blessing the new moon. It will stand for Shabbos, and it will stand for the taf is, I'm trying to remember, it's for Brit Milah, but I'm trying to remember why. There's another word for taf, and it's slipping my mind. But the point is because all of these 3 mitzvot were the 3 mitzvot that the Greeks didn't allow us to do. The Kiddush Levana, the Brit Milah, and the Shabbos were the 3 things that the Greeks forbade us, and those are all connected to the Keshet, which is the month of Kislev, which actually fought against the Greeks. So that's another interesting connection between the zodiac and the month of the year. We have Gedi, which is goat. Honestly, I'm not sure why Tavis is connected to this, but definitely the idea of a goat, it's mentioned many times, is connected to Jacob. Jenny read that in the Medrash. The reason why it's connected to Jacob is because the Jewish people are compared to a goat, because goats are known for making leaps. And the concept of the Jewish people is we might be small, but we leap forward, and we're a people that are beyond nature. And that is our connection to a goat. Goats are also very stubborn, which also connects to the Jewish people, for good and for bad. We have Shavat, which is about a bucket, and Shavat is connected to Moses because a bucket represents a giver. And Moses was the ultimate giver, the ultimate teacher. Interestingly enough, the Rebbe's took his leadership in Shvat, and Shvat is very much connected to the concept of leadership in that sense. I'm sure it has a connection to Tu B'Shvat, which is the new year for the trees, but I'm not sure exactly what that might be. I think it's also connected to the fact that the most rain falls in Shvat, and that is also connected to the bucket, which is connected to the Tu B'Shvat being the Hebrew, the new year for trees. And then finally, the last month is the month of Adar, which is the month of fish, which we spoke about, which was the connection of God's hidden hand in the story of Purim, fish being in their water and God never closing his eyes on us. These are all the lessons that we learn from the fish. Finally, I'm going to finish this class. Sure, of course, if someone has questions, you're welcome to ask a question. But I want to finish this class by saying that it says, Ein mazel Yisrael. The Jewish people don't have mazels. Or loosely translated in our connection, they don't have zodiacs. And, how does that make any sense? They're connected to what we were speaking about. Seemingly, we've been saying how zodiacs have such a great connection on the months of the Jewish people. And the answer is because the Jewish people are beyond the zodiacs. Maybe the zodiacs work for us instead of us working for the zodiacs. And like we saw that Talmud, that God said, I created all these stars and I created it just for you. And the point is that we could use these things as energies to help ourselves, but never to be under it. Like sometimes the guy goes to the psychologist and he says, you got this issue and you got this nature, recognizing that the way God created us is there to help us move forward. It's there to help. We could use that in service of God, but it's never supposed to limit us. We never say, that's just my nature, I can't help myself. We could definitely help ourselves. And in every situation, we always have free choice, and we could always move past that given nature. The nature is there to give us a boost in any specific direction. Sometimes, if I know that I like studying a certain topic, or I like doing a certain mitzvah, that means that my zodiac, if you will, or my neshama is more connected to that. That will come easier to me. So, of course, go for it. Put yourself in there, but it's never supposed to limit us. It's never supposed to be, I can't get past that. Ain't mazel so we're not limited. And, the sky is the limit, or even the sky is not the limit. And we can really move past that. I wanted to address one more thing. I'll just take questions first before. Does anyone have any questions on what we spoke about?
I have a question. Take 2 seconds. Just can you define the word poor and define the word kippur? And are they connected?
Sure. So Yom Kippurim, which is in short Yom Kippur, is the Day of Atonement, right? Purim means lots, or pur means lots. But in Kabbalah, we're actually told that Yom Kippurim is like Purim, in the sense that Purim is actually the greatest holiday. Purim supersedes any holiday. It says that when Mashiach comes, all the holidays will frail in comparison to Mashiach, other than Purim, or other than Purim and Hanukkah, it says one place. Because Purim is a holiday that came from the darkness, from the exile. It's a holiday that we cannot supersede. And even Yom Kippur, which is the high holidays, the holiest day of the year, it's only Kippurim. It's like Purim. Kuf, the letter Kuf, the K, means like in Hebrew. So Yom Kippurim represents that it's like Purim. But in reality, it's different translations. So Yom Kippurim means the Day of Atonement, and the Kapara is the Day of Atonement, and Purim means lots.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Yes, Anita.
I can't remember the word. It's not on the screen. It starts with mazel. What does
Mazel.
that mean regarding its goodness or blessings? I guess relating to the universe.
Correct. So
What does that mean, that word? Not
mazel is the word. You'll also see it on that. Save that link that I sent you, because you could look over all the text after. You'll see it on that text there. It says mazeles. The Hebrew word mazel is the translation of zodiac, but it's also translated as luck. And I think we could kind of see the connection between those two things now that we spoke about what a zodiac is all about. And when you wish someone mazel tov, essentially you're telling them it should be good luck, or it should be a good zodiac, or the zodiac should help you. So all of the above. Just to mention that we discussed here the zodiac in connection to the months. But in reality, zodiacs are also connected to the day of the month, as well as the hour of the day. Every hour of the day has another zodiac. I don't know if you're aware that there's a concept of not making Kiddush between 6 and 7 p.m. And the reason why we don't make Kiddush between 6 and 7 p.m. is because the mazel of that hour of Friday night is madim. Madim is red, which represents blood, and is connected to demons and what have you. It's not considered a good mazel, which is why we don't make Kiddush, or we don't use red wine during that hour. So this idea of mazeles are not only connected to months, they're also connected to hours of the day and days of the month, as well as days of the week. There's a connection, there's a concept which is spoken about in the Talmud. Every day of the week, depending on what you're born, you have a different mazel. We spoke about that last week when we spoke about birthdays, how the day of the week could affect your energy for your life going ahead, what you're more prone to, or what you like to do. If you have a destiny to be rich, or you have a destiny to be poor, or it's, the attitude of life, or what have you. Yes, Anita.
But candle lighting will still be recognized.
Yes. And you could make Kiddush. I'm just
time.
bringing out a point. You're allowed to make Kiddush during 6 and 7. I don't. Or if you have guests, I do, depending on the situation. So don't worry about it. You can't at the same time.
Thank you.
Any other questions? We have no more questions. I wanted to just address a question that BA asked me, because you emailed me a question, which I appreciate. If you do have any questions, please email me. But the question that you emailed me is an interesting one, but it's not a whole class. So I just wanted to answer it here. Do you remember the question offhand, or I'll look it up?
Now I'd have to look it up.
I'll look at my email right now. Let me just look at that.
It was Wednesday.
Go
All right. I have it if you want me to say it.
for it.
So I was curious about why Christianity was formed. Why did Hashem think this was a good thing to support Jesus as a Messiah for people not ready to accept Judaism? Whether it was Jesus or Muhammad, what was Hashem's role in create these offshoots in other sects and religions? And if we believe all things stem from Hashem, what is the purpose really of creating these other religions?
Okay, that's a very good question. Yes, so we got that question. The question was, we have these concepts, Muhammad, Jesus, that seem to be very powerful. They definitely affected the Jewish people. And why? Why did God allow it to happen? So obviously we don't know the reason for everything. And the reason why I didn't have a full class on this is because I don't know too much spoken about that. But I do want to say one thing from the Rambam, which is very interesting. Again, emphasizing the fact that why bad things happen to good people. I don't know the answer to that question. That's a very good question. definitely from an emotional place, there is no answer to that question. Why the Holocaust? It's a very good question. It's a question that we don't have the answer to. I think it's a question that God has to answer for, and hopefully He has a good answer for that. But in terms of the specific question of why did God, and the reason why I'm connecting it to the Holocaust is because these things, Jesus, Muhammad, brought about a lot of destruction for the Jewish people, a lot of bloodshed, and a lot of things that the answer that I'm going to give you now is not going to answer for. But the Rambam writes, Maimonides writes, that the reason why God sent Jesus or sent Muhammad, and that's I don't know if the word is sent, I don't know if that's the proper word, but the reason why He allowed them to exist was because as we were getting close to the time of the Messiah, He wanted that the concept of a Messiah should be more of a given concept. It should be something which is more accepted. And at the time when people of the world were serving idol worship, and the concept of a Messiah didn't exist, other than in the Jewish faith, for Messiah to stand up would be something which is absolutely ridiculous, something which no one would be able to fathom. Today, thanks to Christianity and maybe even thanks to Muhammad, partially, the concept of a better ending and the concept of a Messiah, the concept of a change, and definitely the concept of resurrection is something which is pretty much universally accepted. There was a great story going around. There was a priest that shared that he was driving his car around and he sees someone starting to follow him in California, some city in California, and suddenly he's being followed. And every turn that he makes, this car is following him until he finally pulls into the lot of the church, and out walks a Chabad rabbi. And it turns out that this priest had a sticker on the back of his car, a yellow sticker that he bought in Israel, which said, "We want Mashiach now," in Hebrew. And the Chabad rabbi saw that sticker and was like, who in the world is driving around the middle of nowhere, California, with a sticker, "We want Mashiach now," in Hebrew? But this priest was in Israel and he saw the sticker and he asked what it means. And he's like, yeah, we want Messiah. So he put it up, this bumper sticker, he put onto his car, and they met. And he told the priest, he's like, we both believe in Messiah. So the priest is like, yeah, but unfortunately, the Messiah that I believe in is a little different than the one that you believe in. So he said, you know what? We both believe in Messiah. Let's just wait for him to come and we'll ask him which one of us were right. So the concept of Jesus and the concept of Muhammad as well, the Rambam tells us, is for this purpose to bring about the concept of, number one, belief in one God. That's definitely something that brought to the table, as well as the belief in Mashiach and Messiah as a whole is something which became universal thanks to those religions. Again, I'm going to emphasize that I don't think that's a good enough answer for the destruction and the Crusades and everything that we've gone through and everything that's going on in Israel today, thanks to those very same people. But definitely we do see a message there of divine providence and how everything that happens in this world is there for a mission and a purpose, and to serve to the ultimate purpose of Mashiach, of bringing the